This is MusicalTalk.
MusicalTalk.
The UK's independent musical theatre podcast.
MusicalTalk, the UK independent musical theatre podcast.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Musical Talk.
You should know by now.
That's the dulcet tones of Thos Ribbits.
Hello.
And I'm here with my friend Jonathan Cohen as well. Hello.
Hello.
Today we're going to talk, just have a little bit of a chit-chat. We're going to talk about Sweeney Todd, which Thos went to see. I'm going to talk about Singing in the Rain, which lucky enough I went to see. And Jonathan...
I've seen neither, so I probably have contributed precisely nothing. Although I did go and see a performance of Allegro,
which
Rodgers
isn't
and Hart
playing anymore, so there's no point talking about it. But
It's very worth talking about. It's one of the most important musicals of the 20th century, if you like.
Absolutely, and there's a very good reason, because it when it was produced on Broadway in 1949 for the pathetic length of time, which was 9 months.
Which is short for Rodgers and Hammerstein.
Which is very short for Rodgers and Hammerstein. And apparently that was due to the fact that Agnes de Mille had never directed a musical before. And so
she was a choreographer, really,
She was,
Yeah.
and she directed and choreographed and stuffed it full of dances and all that, so the whole of the thing was, completely sort of top-heavy with dance, apparently. But also, the other reason it's interesting is because Stephen Sondheim was an assistant stage manager on that production.
It's his first job in theatre, isn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
it was. And
a gopher or something, wasn't it? Yeah.
He was a gopher or an assistant stage manager or something, and he said that that was the musical that really got him into wanting to write musicals himself.
Because it's interesting, because I went to see the Stephen Sondheim platform a couple of years ago on his 80th birthday up at the National Theatre, and he was talking about Allegro.
Oh.
And he said what was interesting about it was, and many of the reviews say the same thing, but it was really ahead of its time, because it's actually quite cinematic. It's a collage piece about a man's life from birth till 35, isn't that right?
It certainly is.
And it's how does one progress in particularly a confusing, complex modern world, and we had just come out of the Second World War then, whilst retaining one's integrity. So it's an exploratory... I tell you what it reminds me of on a piece of paper. It sounds like Stop the World, I Want to Get Off.
Yes, it sort of is a little bit like that. But what was interesting was Rodgers and Hammerstein were desperate to do something serious.
Oh, right, after Oklahoma and Carousel.
Oklahoma and Carousel.
Because his laughs are plenty in Carousel, aren't there?
Well, no, but I mean really serious, not musically in the same way, introspective.
Yeah.
And with a Greek chorus, which there is. And actually, I thought it was wonderful. I went to see a production of it by London Academy of Dramatic Art or whatever it is.
And where was this?
The Bridewell.
Oh, right, OK, yes.
And it was really good. But going back to the Stephen Sondheim connection, that's what made him write Merrily We Roll Along. That was, it sort of...
Oh, and you can see that progression...
You can.
In that case, backwards.
Yeah. But anyway, they had this Greek chorus and they wanted to write something that was more serious, and apparently it had the biggest advance booking of any musical ever.
Crikey.
Then the critics tore into it because, of course, the public had seen, as you say, Oklahoma and Carousel and were expecting something similar, and of course it was completely different. I thought it was a very good musical. I mean, a bit depressing. The second half is particularly depressing.
The second half apparently was written in a week. Whereas the first half took years.
Oh, how interesting.
Because apparently they decided they were going to go straight to the theatre. This is what I understand. And so, Hammerstein, because in a way it's autobiographical to a degree, he sweated and strained over the first act to try and make it as good as possible.
Oh, how interesting.
And then he completely ran out of time for Act 2.
Right, well, that would explain why the first act actually is better than Act 2. But in it, there's a huge dance sequence, and it's the music of Mountain Greenery, which was actually written by Rodgers and Hart.
Yes, Oscar Hammerstein's predecessor.
That's right. But apparently they just dumped it into this.
And then nicked by someone else.
Nicked by Lionel Bart for things they...
What they used to be, yes.
It's exactly the same song, isn't it? Ding, 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 ding. Anyway, but it was certainly worth going to see, and I'm wondering if they did a revival of it, an actual... West Endy revival of it, it might work.
It sounds like something the National should do or something.
National certainly could do it.
Well, it's never actually been professionally produced in this country, I understand.
I don't think it has.
We'll start a campaign to get Allegro produced professionally.
I was very interested because Stephen Sondheim at his platform was saying that one of the things that was so modernistic about it, apart from the fact it was not a standard narrative, was the fact it tried to use sort of cinematic... This is in the 40s. Cinematic techniques. They said in the original version, the staging, they did swipes. There was a sort of kind of curtain on a rail.
Oh, wow.
And they would move the curtain across the stage in a symbolic wipe of the scene, and then moving as the curtain moved across.
Oh, my goodness.
They cut from one scene to another, which of course you can't do in theatre in the same way.
No.
You normally have if you were going to do it, you have the clumsy process of closing the front curtains and opening
Absolutely.
them again. They didn't do that. They
just swiped across.
Yes, which of course we take very much as a sort of cinematic punctuation these days.
Yeah, we do.
But people couldn't do that.
It's a glorified shower curtain.
Well, other things, it was really interesting is apparently in the original production, it was the equivalent of a black box production, but in a big theatre. So they didn't have proper sets. They had a cyc around the back with projections, which is absolutely 21st century.
Totally.
They weren't animated, but they would project. But they were, they would project the scene, which would allow them then to move on to the next scene just by changing the overhead projector, essentially.
Right. So they sort of started all that.
If you like, they tried it, but it didn't work.
It's their fault.
Yeah. Yes, of course.
Yes.
But it took a long time coming, if you don't mind me saying. What, 60-odd years?
Yeah, no, quite. But it was quite... well, of course, they couldn't do that at the Bridewell. They did it. They did the ballet sequence in a very funny way. They had people with an umbrella with holes in it and all that, and they made it very ragtag, and it was actually very witty.
And recently you saw the producers at the Arts Theatre, and the problem with the producers was everyone's too young.
Much too young.
Did this production suffer from that as well?
Yes. It did, because the girl who sang, the grandmother, who has to get progressively older, she was too younger, and she was playing it old, and in a funny way, she was playing it too old, so it actually showed up the fact that she really wasn't old.
Oh, it was almost a grotesque old rather than a genuine old.
A little bit like
because
that.
those who are old, we're lovely.
Well, I'm really old. But
you are not.
I am so old, I'm nearly dead. Anyway, so the other thing is that it was very interesting because there's one number where all the girls sing, I can't even remember what the number is, and I was with Rosemary Ash, Rosie Ash, musical singer. She turned to me and said, all the girls sound exactly the same, and I said, yes, they do.
Is this that transatlantic drawl that everyone sings in?
Everybody twangs. It's that twanging thing, and it sounds fine, but the voices don't have much colour these days. I think
it doesn't give you much depth either.
No.
It gives you a sound.
It does.
Singing seems to be more about sound than it does about meaning and character. You're quite right.
Well, the thing is, if you twang, apparently, it'll project far. And the voice will project hugely, and also you can sing much higher with it. But they seem to forget that there's also, you can tie that into normal voice production as well, like operatic voice production. And apparently a lot of opera singers use twang as well now.
Do they really?
Because it's terribly old-fashioned to do all that woo-hoo-hoo sound they used to do.
I like a bit of vibrato.
Yeah. Well, there's always vibrato, but there's not that sort of very sort of...
resonance, yes.
Yeah. There are 2 cast albums available. I'm not quite sure why it said there are 2 cast albums.
Well, the music is a bit bitty, isn't it, though? Because it's not really dialogue, isn't it? Sort of, they break into bits. It's not quite
a little bit.
It's not quite as linear as you might expect.
No, it's not. And there's one very famous song that a lot of people have done for auditions called, what did we say?
The Gentleman is a Dope.
Is a Dope.
Which I must say now, regular listeners will know I'm not a fan of Rodgers and Hammerstein at all, but that is my favourite Rodgers and Hammerstein song.
Well, I'm not surprised.
And it's interesting. It's also because people often say that when Hammerstein started working with Rodgers, he lost the sort of the vibrancy that he had with Lawrence Hart.
Right, okay.
And his songs are very difficult to do in jazz ensembles.
Yeah.
But The Gentleman is a Dope is the song by Rodgers and Hammerstein, which is most like a Rodgers and Hart song.
Right.
So,
how interesting.
And funny enough, it's the one that jazz groups will cover.
But what was interesting about a lot of the songs one obviously didn't know in this production of Allegro...
isn't there a song called Yattity-Tattity-Tat or something?
I think there's something like that. Yes, I can't quite remember. Yes, there's something crazy like that. But all the time, you think... oh, this sounds terribly ordinary, then in typical Richard Rodgers way, he just changes it so that it does something very unusual, the tune, and he does that a lot.
Would you say it's a typical Rodgers score, then? Or would you say, actually, it's a slightly atypical?
Yes, I would say it was fairly typically Richard Rodgers, but it did have
is there a song from an old woman offering advice in Act 2?
No.
Like Climb Every Mountain?
No, none of that at all.
So it's not a traditional...
No, but the tunes.
Oh, okay.
In tone and feel.
Yeah, in tone and feel. But it certainly is quite serious, and it got criticised for being too moralistic.
Oh, right. Oh, that's interesting. Well, Oscar Hammerstein does tend to... I mean, bearing in mind, we more or less... We don't quite meet God in Carousel, but he goes up to heaven and gets steered very firmly in the right direction. Well, so there is a tendency...
But actually, it wasn't mawkish like that.
Nothing is mawkish like that.
No. But it still makes people cry. Maybe not you, Thos.
Yeah. I was too busy banging on the fire exit doors to get out. Carry on, sorry.
Oh, I loved Carousel.
But what goes around comes around.
Well, there you go. And I wonder if that wasn't hammered home.
Hammerstein home.
Yes.
I was going to say that, and then I thought I wouldn't be as cheap as that.
You thought Nick would say it, so...
Yes, I do, or someone would say it.
I'll take that with the spirit of which is intended.
But in fact, the way they did it at the Bridewell, and this was all the Greek chorus thing, who are actually speaking for the child when he's a child, the hero is a child. They're sort of voicing what he's thinking. It's brilliant.
Oh, how interesting! Yes, because he wouldn't be able to do so in real terms.
No, of course
as a
not.
child.
No, and it's brilliant, and they did it brilliantly. And also, it was there was a lot of. It was very ironic. I mean, they managed to get a lot of that across, which is there.
But do you think that's originally in the text, or do you think that's actually something they
just
glossed
don't know.
on?
I don't know.
Because I don't think of irony when I think of Rodgers and Hammerstein.
No.
I think, and funny enough, this is why I think it's such an important one, because Rodgers and Hammerstein create this sort of monolith series of musicals, which, in their day, certainly the beginning ones, Oklahoma and Carousel, although they seem to be almost archetypal musicals now, were considered hugely experimental, hugely different, brand new way of doing it.
Yeah,
ballet in the middle of it and all that stuff.
Well, also Oklahoma only starting with a single guy coming on instead of having a big chorus number,
Although Gilbert did that, of course, with the Yeoman of the Guard.
Yes.
Because Allegro failed, and if you look at it as a sequence of really experimental shows, Oklahoma, Carousel, Allegro, but Allegro goes wrong, i.e. they don't succeed, they sort of then retreat back into the tried and tested formula they've already developed for the first two. So in fact, all the later musicals like Sound of Music and all those other ones, and Cinderella,
and
which all they're all very good. I'm not going to say they're not, but they all feel like a conglomerate.
They do,
and they don't feel experimental. It's all because of the failure of Allegro. If Allegro had succeeded and they'd done a few more experimental musicals, we'd have remembered them in an entirely different way.
I absolutely agree. It was probably too early to do all that soul-searching, maybe. Because
I think you need Sondheim to break the waters for later on.
Say soul singing then.
But isn't it interesting that something that isn't known like Allegro has such an important ramifications?
It's a pivot point, I think, in 20th century music. Certainly the later part of the 20th century.
Good for them.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
and then it wasn't done again, was it, till West Side Story? Really, something completely changing.
Yes, you mean
that
genuinely,
56.
That's the next properly experimental musical that succeeds.
Yeah,
certainly.
1956, yes. Yeah. 56. Fascinating.
And then every year since.
Yeah.
Now, we've got a rather special time of year coming up in this country, something about the Queen, and Jonathan...
I'm going to give you a jolly good drubbing outside in the badminton courts. The Diamond Jubilee Boy!
Oh, yes.
And Jonathan is going to do a concert.
You're going to do a concert.
I'm doing a concert.
I rather gather that you're... are you not leading one of Britain's foremost musical celebrations of the Diamond Jubilee this year?
Oh, you could put it that way, but I really don't think so. It's a big sing-along at the Royal Albert Hall on June the 3rd at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, if anybody should wish to come along and bring their Union Jacks or not.
Sing along and wave to Jonathan.
I'm presenting it, I'm doing some songs, and we've got the wonderful Alison Jaya. If you don't know who she is, she was she was in Jerry Springer, the opera, and she's absolutely amazing. And also... Daniel Crossley is going to be in it, who came round to rehearse the other day. I'd never met him before, and of course he is in Singing in the Rain.
Oh, more of which are none, I guess.
More of which are none.
But I just want to talk about the selection of songs at your splendid concert. Now,
I didn't select any of them, Thos. This comes strictly from Raymond Gubbick.
But it's an interesting selection. I mean, some of it's, as you might expect, there's lots of resonant British stuff. So there's 3 songs, Run, Rabbit, Run, Underneath the Arches and Hanging Out, Washing on the Siegfried Line, and Alan, which is, they are second, 30s, 40s and 50s cabaret performers in this country. The Crazy Gang, they're a constituent part of that.
Absolutely.
And those songs are very much sort of embedded into the British...
I'm assuming that they would have been... still sung in the Crazy Gang when the Queen came to the throne, I would think.
They were doing the Crazy Gang right up until the very early 60s.
But were they using those songs, do you think?
Well,
probably they were.
By then they were doing more retrospective stuff, so the chances are they were. Because, of course, in the beginning of the war they were doing Apple Sauce and all the George White scandals and all that kind of stuff. So they were sort of doing review and vaudeville. So,
there's a whole medley of those in there. What else is there?
But you've also got some... there are some songs from musical theatre. There are. One of the many reasons we're talking about it. We've got, amongst other things, a great British musical which has been revived, which is Me and My Girl.
Yeah.
Which is originally from 1938, 39, something like that.
I would think so, yes. It's Noel Gay, wasn't it?
That's right, he wrote it, and Lupino Lane was the star.
That's it.
Huge name in British theatre in the 30s.
Yeah.
And you may say, well, I don't know this musical and I don't know the songs, but I bet you do, because the Lambeth Walk...
That's what my
Leaning of the Lamppost is...
Well, that's George Formby, isn't it?
That's what made it famous.
Yeah.
Although,
but we're doing...
Norman Wisdom did a very good version of it as well. Yes, believe it or not. Sorry.
And who did the book for the new Me and My Girl?
It was Stephen Fry.
It was. Age 28 or something.
And that's what's made his millions, I think.
Yeah, but from that we're doing Lambeth Walk.
And the sun has got his hat on. Which is optimistic at the moment.
Quite.
I hope you're using the revised lyrics, by the way, to that.
Oh, I don't think we are.
Oh, I hope you jolly well are, because the original one from 1938 has a slight piece of casual racism in it.
Oh, really?
Yes, because there's a lyric which is now sung as he's been roasting peanuts out in Timbuktu.
Right.
Unfortunately, in the 1930s, the reference wasn't meant offensively, but of course it is deeply offensive. Is a reference to the indigenous population of the local part of Africa. In a way which I'm not proposing to state here.
Is it a word beginning with N?
Actually, it's not. It's a word beginning with D.
We've also got, I think, My Old Man's a Dustman's in there, isn't it?
It is, yes, absolutely. Now, that's
Lonnie Donegan, isn't it?
Well, he made it famous. Did he write it?
That I'm not sure about. Because he had a skiffle. It was all skiffle with washboards and things, wasn't it?
Do you know the lyrics? Here's a trick for you. Did you know you can make the lyrics to My Old Man's a Dustman fit the theme, the music to The Girl from Ipanema?
No.
You can. Looks a prop banana in his great big hobnail boots. He's got such a job to put them on, but he calls them daisy roots. Here we are. I didn't expect to be doing that today.
The things you know.
But there are some lovely old British musical numbers as well. We've got Down in the Old Bull and Bush.
Yes.
Which most people, once again, people say, do I know that? But yet once they've heard the tune, they've heard
it. They will know it.
And it's amazingly, it was adopted by American vaudeville, so it's also got an American tradition. If you see the film See Me in St. Louis, or Meet Me in St. Louis...
Yeah.
Your favourite film.
It's not one of my favourite films, but I will tell you that there's a sequence of music in the background on a couple of occasions, which, to the British ear, sounds absolutely archetypally British musical, because they're British musical songs which have been sort of carried over. Down in the Old Bull and Bush, which is one of the most, it's about a British pub, for goodness sake.
Yeah, and that's in it.
It's in it. It's absolutely...
How funny. But it probably went over to America with,
Well, presumably with the Fred Karno group and all the musical stars who went over.
Of course.
Before the First World War.
My favourite typo on this rundown is "There's always been England," which...
Oh, yes, that's slightly wrong, isn't it? Yes, there'll always be in England. We've got that.
Any Dream will do.
Well, you've got Danny Boy and Men of Harlech to make sure that all the parts of the country are...
And I Am Sailing, or We Are Sailing, so that's supposed to be Scottish.
Well, it's by a famous Scotsman.
I know. And we've got Pack Up Your Troubles, It's a Long Way to Tipperary, which you sing together, and they sort of just about work.
Well, and once again, these are great musical numbers from the First World War. These, people forget, but in the First World War, no television, no radio even.
Yeah.
So popular song... as always, has been a great way of keeping up the morale in difficult times. We can all think of songs from various wars.
And there they are.
And the musical was the way that they were disseminated in the public. And to this day, I can. We sang "It's a Long Way to Tipperary" in a school assembly when I was a little boy.
You?
We did indeed.
How bizarre.
And I can tell you from East London, it jolly well is.
Thos, tell us about Dad's Army, because that's in there as well. That has a musical theatre link, doesn't it?
Well, funny, that takes us back full circle to Flanagan and Allen, because it's a very... If you're not British... If you are British, you'll know what Dad's Army is. If you aren't British, then it's a very successful British situation comedy based in the Second World War with our Home Guard.
And, of course, the title theme was sung by...
Bud Flanagan. Or Flanagan and Allen.
Yeah, and I think he died just a few years after that.
A few days afterwards. I believe it was the very last thing he recorded, and he was dead within a couple of weeks.
Wow.
So it really is. But, it's on television pretty much every week ever since, so it's a genuine living epitaph.
It is. And
it's
also
the tune
it's a great song. Now, who wrote it? I can't even remember.
Well, I think the lyrics might actually be by David Croft. But
I think they probably
I
are.
will tell you is it's actually been adopted by the military as well, because
Has it?
in my other life... Yes, in my other life, we help arrange various ceremonial events, quite often involving army bands, and it's part of their repertoire. I've been to the Armed Forces Day events variously across the country, where the most surreal experience of my life was watching an army band play the theme tune to Dad's Army on a series of portable glockenspiels whilst marching.
Wow.
It's jolly good, that was.
You've got Mud, Mud, Glorious Mud by Flanders and Swan.
Another cabaret act, who, if you like, are the Flanagan and Allen of another generation.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
And indeed, perfect for the Diamond Jubilee, because their big hits were the 50s, which of course is when the coronation was, when the Queen came to the throne.
And in fact, my mum took me to see them. I think it was the Palace Theatre.
No, did you?
Yeah.
You saw one of the hats?
Yes, I did. Flanders was in a wheelchair. He was always in a wheelchair. Donald Swan at the piano and singing as well, who could never remember anything, so he always read the music.
Oh, did he?
Yeah,
and
all the time.
Armstrong and Miller do a parody act.
They do.
Of them.
Rather vulgarly, I think, but there we are, yes.
I know.
But it is based on them.
They were splendid.
You've got Summer Holiday, which is from the musical of the same title. Not many people would know that.
No, but it is a musical film and a musical stage play, isn't it?
We're doing Do Re Mi from Sound of Music.
Which is...
American, so no idea why that's in there, but, you know...
It's a good sing-along one.
But when was that... That's for... isn't that from... The Nun one?
Yes,
Sound of
Music, yeah.
And isn't The Sound of Music a 50s musical?
Yes, it is.
So it would be contemporary, at least.
That is true. And, of course, it was playing again at the Palace Theatre, I think, in
Probably
the 50s.
the entire run of the Queen's reign so far.
Yes, in one way and another.
And Any Dream
Will Do from Joseph.
No one knows why that's in there, but never mind.
But once again, it's a great British musical. It's a
British musical, yes.
Forgive me. I think if I'm going to have to pick something from the Andrew Lloyd Webber catalogue, it's going to be one of the early ones.
Yeah, Joseph, which I actually have never seen, and I probably should.
It's better in black and white.
Right. And we've got things like the Archer's theme. We've got
Good Sunshine, so a bit of music.
Yeah, so I mean, it should be fun. I mean, I'm assuming it will. And of course, we've got Jerusalem in there, and Rule Britannia, and then Always Be in England, Land of Hope and Glory is all in there. But it should be a hoot.
It should be.
Yeah.
And so, Jonathan, remind us again where it is and when it is.
June the 3rd.
Which is part of the Jubilee weekend.
It is. And in fact, it's the same day as the big flotilla.
When the Queen
going down the Thames,
the Queen. That's right. The Queen leads a flotilla out from down the Thames and reinvades Calais in order to celebrate.
I'm not sure that those boats would get there very easily, would they?
Well, it'd be Dunkirk all over again.
So it's 3:00 on June the 3rd at the Royal Albert Hall.
And tickets are selling fast.
Tickets are selling very, very, very fast, but there are tickets to be had.
It sounds marvellous.
And we'll be there.
You'll be there as well.
I'll be there.
Well, I rather hope you'll be there, Jonathan, as you're leading. Yes.
And of course, we're very lucky. We've got both two wonderful singers there, Alison Jaya. By the way, there's an orchestra and a choir and what have you.
It's the full musical work.
The full bit is going to be huge. So there's Alison Jaya, who is wonderful, and Daniel Crossley is singing as well, who of course is in Singing in the Rain at the moment. Nick.
Which you saw.
That was a good segue, Jonathan.
I know, wasn't it?
Well, Jonathan's had opportunities across the evening because he's already mentioned a song in Allegro that had an umbrella with some holes in it.
Yeah. There you go.
Yes. Because umbrellas are very much part of the theme, aren't you? If you walk past the Palace Theatre at the moment where Singing in the Rain is, there's this huge, fantastic, colourful kaleidoscope of umbrellas on the canopy.
It's better than the shoe.
Yes, with Priscilla's previous...
Priscilla's shoe. So what did you think?
And did you know the film?
No.
So you saw the musical without knowing the film?
And people are genuinely shocked that I've never seen Singing in the Rain.
Well, that's because I'm now really interested to know what you think about that from that vantage point. It's like doing it backwards.
Absolutely.
So give us your views on Singing in the Rain.
I knew what was going to happen, of course, with the rain, and I think that's a bit everyone waited for.
You mean that scene when he is actually singing in the rain wearing his grey suit?
And the audience get drenched with warm water, apparently.
Yes.
Oh, do they? I hope it's water.
Chlorine.
I think that's in the first few rows, though. I don't think it goes everywhere.
It goes quite far.
Does it?
I mean,
It probably doesn't get you into the family circle, though, does it? No. Otherwise, they're using a water cannon.
But I enjoyed it. I thought it was very funny, especially the projected stuff when they have the silent movie.
Oh, projections again.
Yes, back to Allegro.
All musical theatre comes back to Allegro, I think.
Well, I think that's today's message. But you're right, of course, because in the film, it's all about the arrival of talkies, isn't it? So it's about black and white films and the transition and who gets lost on the way.
Sadly, I don't have a programme on me, so I'm not able to name everyone's name, but I was a bit disappointed because we didn't have Scarlett Strallen on, who plays the girl why I want to be an actress one day, and suddenly
Debbie Reynolds' part in the film.
We had her understudy, and there's a point where she's going to sing her audition song to the head of the film company, and the pianist says, "What key, darling?" And she says E flat, and then he obviously plays an E flat, and then she started singing about 4 tones away from that because she just wasn't the best singer.
Well,
right.
Maybe she was terrified.
And I laughed because I thought that was a part of the plot.
Oh dear. You're probably one of the few people to have spotted the E flat joke.
Yes, maybe.
But the choreography was wonderful.
It's Adam Cooper playing the central
Yes.
character, isn't it? Don Lockwood.
And sadly, from where we were sat, we couldn't see the lamppost, which was a shame.
Oh, there was no dog in the scene.
But
Oh, yes.
Straight off of Legally Blonde.
Yes, yes.
Now, what I'm very interested to know is what you thought of Adam Cooper, because Adam Cooper is famously a dancer in the first instance and famously was.
And may I just say, of course, the male Swan Lake, he was
Of course, the Matthew
absolutely
Bourne.
wonderful.
And
Remember
Billy
that?
Elliot's faintly based on his story, isn't it?
Did you see it, by the way?
I didn't, I'm afraid,
Oh,
no.
it was wonderful. Anyway, yeah.
Well, this is because dance doesn't really speak to me, as I've said before.
Nor me so much, but because it looked so wonderful, I'd seen bits of it on television.
This is the Swan Lake.
It was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
Because that's really where he made his name, isn't it? I think, more than anything.
Yeah.
Billy Elliot came later, and even then that's autobiographical.
Absolutely.
But he's sort of, in the last few years, moved into musical theatre. I saw him appear in the fantastic Rodgers and Hart musical that's got Slaughter on 10th Avenue in. And, because they'd obviously used him because there was a lot of dance sequences in it. There's the ballet.
Right.
On Your Toes.
On Your Toes, well done. And Tim Flavin was in that, actually,
Was
years
he
ago,
now?
who I'd worked with. Yeah, he was in a production of it in the 80s, maybe?
In the 50s, Elaine
90s.
Stritch was in the revival.
Wow.
So.
But Adam Cooper, of course, is primarily a classical dancer.
He is indeed.
So I think he probably, I mean, I may be wrong here, so forgive me if I'm wrong, Adam. But I think he probably would have had to learn tap in modern.
Yeah. I tell you what,
dancing.
my problem with him was in On Your Toes, is that he was a phenomenal dancer, but you wouldn't have said he was a great comic. And of course, in a 1930s, 40s, 50s American musical, you're expecting your lead chap also to be a comic. And Gene Kelly in Singing in the Rain is actually, it's not a comic role, but he's got a lightness of touch, and there's enough comedy in it. Certainly when he's working with Cosmo.
Yeah.
So what did you make of him?
the comedy stood out from the other people in it,
Ah.
especially the girl who
Right.
talks like that, and she has a really
The one-
annoying voice.
Now, Daniel Crossley plays Cosmo.
Okay.
Was he? Is that so? You would have seen Daniel, I think.
Yes, but they didn't stand out as they were more kind of bumbling stereotypes of
Right.
But
1940s
did he not-
Hollywood.
But did he do the make 'em laugh sequence?
Yes, we had that.
And now
was
that's,
very good.
I mean, on the film, that's a real showstopper.
Yeah.
That's Donald O'Connor at his absolute,
Yeah.
that's the zenith of Donald O'Connor.
Yeah.
But
Is that
did
Cosmo? Is Donald O'Connor?
Yeah, he's Cosmo.
Yeah, so
he's
that
the
is
sort
the
of slightly
one.
lankier friend, isn't he?
Yeah.
So that scene did or didn't really stand out for you?
It didn't make me laugh.
It didn't. Well, but it's more slapsticky comedy
Yeah.
anyway, isn't it?
Yeah.
So did...
I mean, I sat there, waiting for Singing in the Rain to appear, as did the rest of the audience. And once it did, I just got a bit tired of the kind of... It's a bit predictable, it's very charming. But I enjoyed it very much because it was a new story. And I loved the comedy stuff with the film. And that was all projected very well. And it was staged beautifully with the... in the cinema, and I like it when shows do the thing where the audience are the audience in that situation. So you are the audience in the cinema, and you're watching the big film.
Oh, you like the audience to be diegetic?
Yes.
Bringing in the ghost of Timothy Seaward.
Is he dead?
No, he was on Facebook the other day, so I know he isn't. Unless he's ghostly,
I like it when they do that, and that happens in a couple of Sound of Music did it when you're at the concert, for example.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
And so presumably you're in the audience of the cinema when they reveal who's actually singing the song.
I see, yeah.
And I enjoyed it very much. I wouldn't pay full price to see it. and I wouldn't sit in the front because I don't want to go to the theatre and get drenched.
But here's my question for you. Well, you'd win any wet T-shirt competition, so you've got nothing to worry about. But my question for you then really is, what other songs, obviously Singing in the Rain, yes, what other songs have stuck in your memory, bearing in mind you don't know the score? Because I'm really interested to know what you think's got the hooks, because I think it's a... well, tell me what you think, and then I'll tell you what I think is unusual about Singing in the Rain as a film.
Many of the other songs.
I remember Be a Clown or Make 'Em Laugh, whatever it's
called.
Well,
funny you should mention that as well, because it's the same tune, isn't it?
It is.
Cole Porter wrote Be a Clown first.
Right.
And then, I'm afraid, it's one of the famous... it was recognised at the time, but it was a rip-off, but nothing was ever done about it. So.
How interesting. So there's never been a court
They took it on the chin, yeah.
Fascinating. That's incredibly annoying song, the Patter tongue twister one.
Moses supposes his toes are roses, as Moses supposes erroneously. Moses, he knows his toes aren't roses, as Moses supposes his toes is to be. Come on.
Have you played the part then?
I have not, but I like Gilbert and Sullivan, which is essentially what that is.
Yeah,
it's a Gilbertian Patter song, isn't it?
Song,
yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's because it's a bit of a jukebox musical, because most of those songs weren't written for even the film.
And also there are two songs in the musical that aren't in the film.
Oh right, which ones were they? Can you remember? All right, because in the film, my favourite song from Singing in the Rain is "Fit as a Fiddle and Ready for Love," which is. In the film version, it's when they're talking about making up their history about how dignified their rise to the top of the cinematic tree was. And then he says, dignity, always dignity. And then they cut to him and Cosmo on vaudeville, wearing checked vaudeville suits. And one is sitting, I think, on the shoulders of the other, playing the other one's violin whilst the other one dances.
Yes, we had that.
Yeah, and they're singing at double tempo, fit as a fiddle and ready for love. And it's played as a kind of jig and it's an amazing song. I think it's by Silver, Brown and Henderson.
It might be.
People.
Who
it's a
actually wrote
lovely
the
little
music to Singing in the Rain?
Now, is it... very good question. I don't know.
Whilst I think about it, I do want to say, now you talk about that, I wonder how much originality the show has.
You mean, is it a like My Fair Lady? Is it quite a close representation of the film? I would be jolly surprised if it wasn't. I mean, you've already described the Singing in the Rain sequence, which, if you've even seen the Morecambe and Wise version, which is a complete version straight off of the MGM film.
So I think you should go to us and you should report back.
Well, I tell you, I will mention one interesting parallel, because Singing in the Rain is of all the Gene Kelly films, certainly in Britain, the most famous Gene Kelly film. And Gene Kelly, of course, is one of the great dancers of the 20th century. The other great dancer of the 20th century is Fred Astaire, who also appeared in musical films a generation earlier in his case. He was doing it in the 30s rather than the 50s. His greatest musical film, which is Top Hat, is coming to London and has just opened.
In exactly the tonight, at the time we're recording this episode.
Oh, really? Jolly good. And that's an Irving Berlin musical.
Starring Musical Talk's Martin Ball.
Is it now? When you say starring, is he playing?
He's like the third character down in the bill.
I bet he's either playing the Edward Everett Horton character or the Eric Blore character. Is he playing a kind of butler who speaks like that? Do we know?
Don't know.
And we'll have to find out. Someone has obviously said Singing in the Rain has been a perennial stage adaptation of. It's one of the first films to become a musical.
It makes it very heavily on the poster that it is based on the MGM film. So MGM have obviously looked at it and thought, well,
based on the classic.
You're using our film.
Yeah, you've got
credit.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because this one has, because Tommy Steele did this 20 years ago, 30 years ago. It is one of the first films that have made it into the repertoire of stage musical.
Again, it's been a good year for kind of British theatre with Chichester and the RSC and all those other companies having big hits in the West End. And that's what's quite exciting about seeing it, is them taking an American show and, it being in London as opposed to the stale Broadway.
But do we know if Singing in the Rain has been doing anything on the American stage? Because the reason I ask, it has been a perennial British provincial favourite for 20, 30 years. Tommy Steele really has been doing it for yonks. And Brian Connolly.
We all know the story as well.
We do.
This is interesting. Screenplay is Betty Comden and Adolph Green. The songs are Nacho Herb Brown and Arthur Freed.
It's the Freed unit of the MGM... he ran one of the musical filmmaking units at MGM.
Right. Oh.
So he's a studio executive as well as a lyricist.
Do you think it's a bit autobiographical?
Well, I tell you, but we do know that Betty Comden and Adolph Green did write pseudo-biographical musicals, because the other great Fred Astaire musical of this era, the 50s era, with when Gene Kelly was doing it, which is... The Bandwagon, which is another Freed Unit musical,
Yeah.
that is faintly autobiographical. They deliberately wrote that to be at least in parallel with Fred Astaire's own story.
Oh, how interesting.
So it's possible what you've said there. It may have some resonances.
How you know what's also in it? It goes, good morning,
Good morning.
Yes,
I've slept the whole night through. Good morning. Good morning.
We've talked.
Nothing could be finer than to be in Carolina.
Yeah, it's the one.
And the other standout scene I should mention is Gotta Sing.
Oh, yes.
Which is
do you know?
the dream ballet version of...
And this is where I fall, which is where Singing in the Rain always falls off the tracks for me, because that is the Rodgers and Hammerstein moment.
Yes.
You know, in fact, the Richard Rodgers moment, because Richard Rodgers
It's
did
the Slaughter on 10th Avenue, isn't it?
It is, which Richard Rodgers did with Lawrence Hart in On Your Toes.
Yeah.
But then all these wretched musicals had to have a ballet in,
Yes.
including even not My Fair Lady,
My Fair Lady.
West Side Story.
West Side Story did, yeah.
Yeah, but this has got that. It's got that wretched "Gotta Dance," and that's a sequence when I always pop out and make a cup of
Really?
tea. It really is. Oh, come on! We've already seen his own path up to becoming a star.
Yeah.
Why repeat it in a figurative dance process? I know why, because they needed to give Gene Kelly something to do.
Yeah.
I do want to close my section talking about the behaviour of audience members as well.
Go on then.
The fact that someone had to raise their umbrella during singing, not on the stage.
You mean the audience did?
Someone in the audience put her umbrella up.
And obscure the view from everyone behind.
Yes, and I've never seen an usher run so quickly. You know, just...
What did they do it for?
If you sit in the front row, you know, just know you're going to get a bit...
Yeah. Oh, you mean they
excited.
put it up to protect themselves from the splashy
Yes.
in the front?
Maybe they thought it was amusing.
Well, it wasn't.
No.
No. I mean, I went to see one of those...
And people tweeting during the shows and things.
Oh, you're joking.
Well, you know what? It's so annoying. It happens in the cinemas all the time. People with their mobiles, because they might have put them on silent because they say switch them off. They don't switch them off. But of course, you see the screen light.
Bright
lit up.
light, yeah. I saw that in Phantom of the Opera. I
Did
saw
you?
a couple.
Can't believe
I saw a
it.
couple. The woman was entranced, and the man was clearly bored out of his skull, and so he was doing silent things on his bright screen in front of me.
It is the
Netflix.
most distracting thing, isn't it? You just see it. And
Yeah.
that's...
It just because it takes away the darkness.
Yeah.
You know, the reason the thing is dark, so that you concentrate on the screen. If someone starts
Exactly.
lighting candles in
It's
front of you,
appalling.
it
They
is.
should all go to a barber, shouldn't they?
I can hear you desperately squeaking
Yes,
us
I'm
towards.
hungry.
I can hear you moving us desperately towards Sweeney Todd, which is the big show I've seen recently. I saw two musicals on the trot. I saw Sweeney Todd on a Friday, and then I saw Mary Yeston's Titanic on the Saturday in Bromley. And I've discussed Titanic at fair length in a separate episode. But it was interesting to watch one after the other because they are utterly different and at a totally different level of quality, though.
Sweeney Todd's good, basically.
Sweeney Todd is excellent. Now, I was going to be honest with you. I wasn't going to see this Sweeney Todd because I felt slightly Sweeney Todded out.
Bored of Sweeney Todd.
Well, bored is strong, but yes.
I feel exactly the same. I just don't think I can face it anymore.
Because we'd all seen The Gala a few
I've
years
seen it
ago, and the
often.
film came out, and we've all seen
Birthday.
Amateur... But yeah.
I'd seen it originally about 9 times.
Oh, crikey.
Yeah.
And it has been becoming more and more sort of on, if you like. So I thought, oh, Lord, here's another version. So I wasn't going to see it. And then one day I was walking up the steps at a tube station. It was Chiswick Park, ladies and gentlemen, should you need to know for posterity. And there was a poster at the top, and I thought, oh, that's Sweeney Todd. Who on earth's that man with the fringe?
Imelda Staunton.
Well, I recognised Imelda Staunton, who I think is one of Britain's best comedy actresses. I realised it was Michael Ball,
Yeah.
and I thought, you don't look like Michael
Didn't
Ball.
you know it was Michael Ball?
Well, in my head, I knew he was appearing in it. But when you see
This
the
was the
picture...
first time you saw the
But when I
marketing.
saw... Yeah, the first time I saw the advertising, I thought, gosh, he utterly looks different. And then a friend of mine said, I would like to see the new Sweeney Todd. Do you want to come along? And I thought, well, I wasn't going to, but actually I'm a bit intrigued now.
It's another Chichester one.
Yes.
Chichester hit.
And my word, it's the best Sweeney Todd I've seen.
Really?
I do not mind telling you. I was utterly swept away. I think...
Well, it's nice to see a big production of it because in my lifetime I'd never seen a big production of it.
The original was
Yes.
huge.
It's
with
all
trucks
it's
coming on.
either stupid instrumental actors and all that nonsense and doing it in a black box and I like a big one with
Or
blood,
semi-staged,
with
yes.
blood flying everywhere.
Well, this is a full-blooded version, if I
Yes.
may say. It's at the Delphi, which is quite a big theatre.
And of course, it's set in the 30s, isn't it?
It is. Now, that's very interesting. And you think, well, is this going to bring anything to it? Now, what it does render the Beadle part a little
Useless.
bit redundant.
Yeah.
But, although he's referred to as Beadle all the way through, what you get is actually 1930s thuggery, really. It's not quite black shirts and Oswald Mosley, but you've got the corrupt judge, who's essentially an East End gangster, even though he's a man of position and establishment, and his right-hand man, his go-to man for punching is the Beadle. So although... so the relationship is retained from the original Victorian version and into a context where it works quite well. You can genuinely see that the judge, when he wants something a bit grubby done, he goes to Beadle Bamford. So that worked quite nicely. The thing I thought was most interesting about it was the subtle reworking of the Sweeney character, because it's very easy for Sweeney to be played as a brooding character. And brooding's all very well, but brooding's a bit one note. Even when you force a song like, Priest into the middle of it, there's still a sense that it's just a bit too heavy, brooding Welsh. If Richard Burton was still alive today, it's the kind of character he'd be playing. Michael Ball does it just a bit more subtly, I think, actually. I would actually say that he's preoccupied, but he's able to be shaken out of his preoccupation when Mrs. Lovett gets particularly irritating or has a good idea or whatever, her yabbering in the corner. So he can be brought out of his shell by her. So it's I know it's subtle. You're going to say, what's the difference between brooding and
introvert? No.
Yeah, well, if you like, yeah. And the answer is actually, subtlety of character. It stops him being one note. So this.
I'm Sweeney, one note.
Yes. Well, you do actually see Rodgers and Hart. You do see his gradation of character as he sort of descends the step from just being preoccupied by revenge on the judge to actually becoming a mass murderer. His faith in human life goes down through the show, but you actually see it, which sometimes you don't. That step between why is he deciding to kill everybody and not just a judge? It's not always shown.
Oh God, who's his name? It's Dennis Quilley. He did actually do that very well. We did get that sense of him, suddenly getting the idea and getting more and more cheesed off with everything, and it was
But you need that character. And I've said this before in another podcast, but I think there's one fundamental problem with Sweeney Todd. It's actually about reality and heightened reality and grotesquerie.
Yeah.
Because I think to be successful, it has to veer away from grotesquerie into heightened characters, because they've got these emotions, they act upon their emotions, they're very big emotions.
It's operatic emotions.
It is, except for Mrs. Lovett. Now, this is in no way to criticise Imelda Staunton, who just wonders with the... She was amazing. And she's been amazing in everything she's ever been in anyway. She sings very well as well. But the character, I think, is completely misconceived in the piece. I appreciate that you need a Mrs. Lovett, but this Mrs. Lovett is written as, not performed as, well, it has to be performed that way, but that's not the problem. It's written as a grotesque when Sweeney isn't in himself a grotesque. The very first song she sings are "These Are the Worst Pies in London." It's clearly a comic song. But you stop believing. So far, you can believe what the other characters have done. The Sweeney character, you can. It's unlikely, but it's possible. The first song she sings is "These pies are bloody horrible."
Make your pies better then.
Yeah, that's not a realistic characterisation. No. That's not a realistic way of living.
I'm trying to think if it worried me. I don't think in the end it did. But I know what you mean.
Yeah.
The stuff that gets on my
nerves
things in the production is the bloody Joanna and sadly the Joanna we had wasn't very good.
Which one are you talking about?
Chichester.
Oh, you saw it in Chichester, did you? Oh, jolly
no, I saw it at the Adelphi.
Oh, you've seen it in London?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, sorry.
She wasn't very... She's not a soprano to begin with, so God knows why she's screeching that stuff. And the guy playing Anthony was a bit wet and pathetic, I think.
Oh, he's a sailor.
but yes, actually, but they are rather underwritten.
They are, and they disappear as well. Once
they do disappear.
Yeah.
What on earth happens to them?
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm glad they cut a lot of Pirelli's stuff.
Yes, that does get a bit tedious. I did think.
And the book is a bit tiresome at times, I think. You just sit there waiting for the songs.
Yeah, this is... I mean, I think this is a slightly punchier version anyway.
Well, actually, isn't most of it sung anyway?
Yeah, but when there is dialogue, my God, you notice it. Because it ain't Sondheim.
Well, although a lot of it's based on the old Edward Bond play, which is a British playwright.
Yeah.
I'm taking us back to the Mrs. Lovett thing, because I don't think I'm quite done there. I mean, I've always hated the one song, which is By the Sea, which the problem is it feels like a dramaturg song. It feels like someone said, there's nothing light in Act 2, is it? It just gets horribler and horribler. We need some last moment of levity. Yeah. Let's give her a comedy song. Yeah. And it's not a comedy song. It's just her mindless rumblings about what she'd like to do at the seaside, with one joke about doing a guest in.
And it's too long.
Yeah, oh, crikey. But yes, it is.
But she does it well, though.
No, it's beautifully performed, but it feels like it's deliberately there to give you a moment of relief.
I do remember thinking about the Little Priest number.
Or A Little Priest.
A Little Priest. Mind you, I suppose I know it so well and I played it for so many people so often, but...
It still makes me smile, that song.
But is it the song, or is it its positioning as a lighter-hearted piece?
I think it's more the lyrics and those wonderful puns.
But I think if you put it at a different point in the song, I mean, you wouldn't be able to do it because the construction would allow you to, but if you put it at a different time in the show, would that still give you the same resonance? You know, if you swap that and By the Sea...
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't because it's the response to Epiphany.
Well, they're both
But
sort of like, you know, we need. Yeah, exactly. They're like, you know, we need some relief because it's all got to, and you know.
What I didn't like about the end of Act 1, the very end of Act 1, is how they just sort of sunk off into the stage. They're meant to be there with this brilliant pose.
Well, there's no meant to be, but you mean it's been done that way in the past.
Yeah.
That's presumably why they went for the opposite.
Yes.
I really
probably.
like the... Funny enough, I think it's interesting. When it's good, it catches comedy in a place you don't expect it. There's that beautiful... I think it's a beautiful... It's almost like a Baccarat, I think. You'll probably tell me why I'm wrong on this.
No, go on.
But it's that one where... ba 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 bum 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 ba 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 bum.
Yeah.
Bum, just lightly bumping along.
Oh, it's
a
lovely.
very melodic song.
It's gorgeous.
Beautifully sung. It's a nice emotion as well. And he's slaughtering people.
Yeah.
So you get people having their, you know, throats cut on stage, full view, whilst he's singing
that's
this
going on.
wonderful song.
But that's what's so wonderful about the whole thing, isn't
Yes,
it?
it
That
undercuts
wonderful
itself.
music as you see the blade, you know, which is this thing of beauty.
Yes.
It feels. I mean, I think that's incredibly powerful.
Well, it's
I
made
always
to...
have done.
I mean, it's physically beautiful as well, isn't it? I mean, it's the very moment when she pulls out Benjamin Barker's blades.
Oh, yeah.
That's how she recognises him.
Yeah.
In fact, you're recognised through the beauty of those blades all the way through.
Absolutely.
So you're right. The if you like, you know, the beauty through a death implement is which once again is that contrast, isn't it? You've got the loveliness and the horribleness all in
Absolutely.
one, which is what Sweeney Todd is. I mean, it's
Why it
it's
slightly
iconic.
concerned me that it was the 30s. I suppose. Well, I haven't seen it, so I can't really comment on that. It's just hard for me to get my mind away from the fact that it's so far back in time. And haven't they cut bits? I mean, I remember in the original,
Not badly, though.
A lot of the judge was cut.
Although he does get to sing Mea Culpa.
Right,
Which, my
which I think was
word, is a
cut.
piece.
I think that was cut from
Yes.
the London production at the beginning.
It's cut from a lot of productions. It's also, I mean, forgive me, you know, in a modern environment, the fact that he chooses to marry his ward. I mean, not that she's, you know, she's not underage, but she's only just underage.
It's pretty nasty.
And essentially, it's, you know, it's unconsensual sex is being hinted at here. Which is rape, you know. I mean, that's fairly strong meat in my view.
But yet you have that hilarious line where he says, "I offered her my hand in marriage." For some reason, she didn't seem very happy about it.
Well, it's hilarious because he doesn't realise he's saying something that seems unusual.
The factory sign wasn't loud enough. That's my only issue with the show.
Please. I mean, I think that's the point. Well, I mean, at one level, that actually backed up the 1930s sound. You know, there was this sense of the 1930s, particularly in the post-slump environment, gives you that kind of lost souls who could be slaughtered without anyone noticing. It gives you drudgery. It gives you sort of factory industrialisation. You know, it's a very dehumanising context which they developed. It might be slightly over-egged, I think, that particular pudding, but it's... I mean, I wasn't upset by the 1930s environment.
I mean, when they say the 1930s, do they actually... What part of the 1930s?
Well, I think it's an early 30s, because, if nothing else, the ladies' costumes look to me more 20s remnants, so sort of 32, 34, up to 34.
The 1930s was quite a jolly period, wasn't it? It was between the wars and... Hitler hadn't got going quite by then.
In Britain, it was considered... I mean, we did have a depression, but it was certainly better than it was in Europe, yeah. And you're right, there was a kind of... I'm not going to say fantasiacal, because that's wrong, but it's fan de era, I suppose, if you like, yes. I mean, the interwar period is... somebody once said... It was a rather splendid Australian cartoon about the history of humanity that said that Europe went for... After the First World War, Europe went for grief and extremism, whereas America and Britain went for jazz and dancing.
Cubism.
Yes. Britain took all the bits, the culture of the world, but depoliticised it. So, you know, we took modernism as an architectural thing, but we certainly took all the politics out of it. So you're right, I think that's across the board. I can't recommend it enough. It is the best, for me, Sweeney that I've seen.
And there's also a cast recording, which is...
Oh, is there? Is it somebody told me it wasn't a complete cast recording.
They've cut Joanna's stuff. Oh. They've cut Peretti's stuff.
I do know how it's doing at the box office at the moment.
But I know it's only running till autumn, I think, so you've got to catch it while you can.
Right, so, I mean, that was already decided it was going to...
When I went, which was a Friday night, it was 95% full. But it was still fairly fresh then, so I don't know is the answer. And, of course, you know, sales disappear into August. But on the other hand, we've got more tourists coming at the moment.
And the question I ask you is always, would you go again?
Yes.
There's a loud gunshot, isn't there?
If there is, I don't recollect it particularly.
Okay.
Certainly nothing. The thing that made the most screechy noise is the screechy whistle.
Which in the original, it was an incredible shock after all that organ and that which made us jump out of our skins. It's
a great sound.
It's unusual. I can see why it's not regularly used in songs. So,
pretty.
If you are coming to London in the summer, make sure, as the campaign says, come and see the real show, and by that we mean theatre, not people farting around on athletic tracks.
well, I'm sorry, I'm going to do it all. I think it's perfectly possible to have a jolly time with the Queen, a jolly time watching quite a lot of sportsmen wearing lycra, and then going to see a show or two. That's perfect London as far as I'm concerned.
So thank you very much for listening. This episode has been Copyright Musical Talk 2012. Thank you, Thos.
It's a pleasure, Nicholas.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Yes, don't forget to come on June the 3rd to the Albert Hall at 3 o'clock for the Jubilee Sing-Along.
My name is the Queen and I command you.
Mother, what are you doing in my house?
And here are some musical out-talks.
HMS Pinafore, the tabard will be full of twang when Thos goes to see it.
They're doing Pirates, Penzance, but I get the idea.
Right. Anyway,
isn't it?
so
It's a
that
very
was
small
Allegro,
theatre.
but Steve.
We'll speak to him. Speak to him.
Oh, hello.
Oh, this will be an outtake.
Yeah,
then,
yeah, brilliant.
So when we get to Gilbert,
Yes, we are.
We'll slip this through him in.
We'll do that next.
As you wish. Although he's referred to as the bead. I'm sorry.
That's the beadle-leadle-leadle-lumpling,
Well, I'm glad they cut that.